Fall Forward, Spring Back. Written by Karen Muckler. Illustrated by Nicholas Jackson. It was the first Friday in November. Daylight saving time ended that weekend. Remember to set your clocks back an hour on Saturday night, said Nola's teacher. Spring forward, fall back. Nola didn't pay much attention. At 8 years old, she'd been late so many times. She figured she'd go on that way forever. She'd be late for her first job, her college graduation, her wedding. And if you don't like parades, he added, don't forget the ones this Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. Nola had never been to the fall parade. That night at dinner, she asked her mom if they could go. I won't be here Sunday, Mom reminded her, but I bet Pablo could take you. Pablo was Nola's big brother, 16 and always sleepy. He would be charged when their mother was away. Don't forget, Mom said, daylight saving time ends this weekend. I don't really get it, Nola confessed. Are we actually saving daylight or just moving around? Nola's mom smiled. Moving it around, she said. In November, we set our clocks back an hour, so the sun rises earlier in the morning, or seems to, and sets earlier in the evening. In March, we do just the opposite, and the sun sets later. Crazy stuff, Pablo yawned. Saturday morning. Their mom kissed them goodbye and drove to the airport. That night, as Nola got in bed, she thought back to her teacher's words. Spring forward, fall back. Or was it fall forward, spring back? Fall forward sounded better, so she set her clock forward an hour. Just like that, it was past her bedtime. She was late again. Time, Nola sighed. It's not my friend. Nola overslept the next morning. When she woke, her clock said 10:15. She ran and rustled her brother out of bed. When they reached the parade route, though, there was no parade. It seemed they missed the whole thing. They turned and headed home. On their way back, they spotted their neighbor Frank. He was climbing around next to an 8-foot bright orange pumpkin. They walked over for a closer look. Frank saw them and broke into a grin. The early birds gets a worm, he cried. Nola and Pablo looked at each other. Pablo had never been early for anything in his life either. Climb up on here, Sonny, and get me a hand with this float, shoved Frank. You too, Missy. Frank put them both to work for more than an hour. When they were done, his float looked fantastic. So, Pablo said at last, I guess you're all ready for next year's parade. Next year? Frank cried. Try this year. Nola and Pablo blinked in confusion. Wait a minute, Lola said. Wasn't the parade at 10 o'clock today? Was at 10? Frank cried. Will be at 10 is more like it. He thrust his wristwatch toward. It said 9:30. Nola laughed for her joy. I fell forward, she said. I need to fall back. She had sprung forward an hour while everybody else has fallen back an hour. That meant she and Pablo were now 2 hours ahead of everybody else. For once in their lives, they were early. The early bird gets the worm, Nola cried. Frank nodded. You got it now, Missy, he said. Pablo yawned. It was all a big mistake, but it turned out to be a great mistake. It's why they rode in the parade on Frank's float that year and every year since. It's also why, from that day to this, Nola had made sure to be early for everything. 2 minutes early, though, not 2 hours.